When you picture a Formula 2 driver, not that you do that very often, you usually think of a young prima donna, with their family's billions flowing through their veins and them just generally being, to put it nicely, a bit of an arsehole. However, this year's grid has one driver that comes from a relatively modest family, at least in motorsport terms, and who just seems to be grateful to even be driving at this level. Although most of you probably don't know much about him, so let me tell you about the real Calan Williams. And yes, I know, it's Calan. By the way, subscribe to the channel to help me get to 1,000 subscribers before the year is done. Now back to the show. Born in Perth, Australia 22 years ago, Calan became a member of the Wanneroo Tiger Kart Club at the age of 7 and remained in karts until 2014. By that stage, he had already established his ultimate dream: becoming a Formula 1 world champion. Haha, simple enough. But by that stage, he had already embarked on a partial Formula Ford campaign, with 3 podiums and 1 pole position being his achievement. And in 2016, Williams would race for Fastlane Racing in the Western Australian Formula Ford Championship. Now, as someone who has no experience behind the wheel, I can confidently tell you that the Formula Ford car isn't the nicest car to drive, what with having no front or rear wing and thus having little in the way of aerodynamical grip, but it is a useful tool for drivers to learn the basics of racing. This applied perfectly to Calan, as after showing initial speed but also making a few mistakes in the opening half of the season, his second half was dominant, to say the least. Williams won the last 5 races of the campaign, placing second in the standings and just 8 points behind Sam Dicker. Yep, that's his actual name. But this spurred on Williams to do even better, and the world would see an example of that in the Australian Formula 3 Premier Series the following year. Driving for Gilmore, Calan won the title by taking 11 race wins in an 18 race season, and this meant, among other things, that he had basically completed the Australian single-seater ladder up to that point. It was time for him to go to Europe. However, to do that, the family had to somehow stump up the cash to make this all possible, as they had been funding Calan's career mostly out of their own pockets up to that point. His father Greg decided to set up and incorporate a company, Calan Williams Racing, which sponsors would be able to buy shares in and from which they could get a return on their investment in the unlikely scenario that Williams later reached F1. It was quite a unique approach, but it ended up working out in the end, with Williams spending 2 whole seasons in the Euro Formula Open Series with Fortec Motorsport. Now, let's not sugarcoat this bit. 2 top 5 finishes at the Red Bull Ring in 2019 were the best he could offer, although I'll argue that Fortec didn't make things easy for him with the lemon of a car they provided him, and the lack of a competent teammate to learn from didn't help matters for Calan. Having a strong teammate is very important, as you can see where they're better than you in certain areas of the track, or all of them. Which is why, when Williams made his step into Formula 3 with Genza, he would have been delighted that teammates Federico Malvestiti and Matteo Nannini had a combined total of 1 round of F3 experience! But to Matteo's credit, he did bag a reverse grid podium in Barcelona, which is more than can be said for Malvestiti. Or Williams. Yes, he did have his moments, what with qualifying 5th in Budapest or 4th in Monza, but a pile-up at the start and a collision with Pironi kicked Williams' chances of points into the mud, and he ended up on 0 points just like teammate Federico. But the sponsors stayed on, and Williams returned to Yensa in 2021. This time as the experienced driver alongside Jonathan Hoggard and Philip Ugran. First racing driver I ever met, mate. Williams looked to have more in his tank this year, and 12th in the second quali of the year made him the pole sitter for race 1 at Le Castellet. From there, Williams battled on throughout the race, until eventually he crossed the line in 3rd, taking his first point in F3 and the first podium of his European adventure. This was a seminal moment in Williams' career, even if he would only manage to get 2 more points finishes until the season was done. And 19th in the standings doesn't really reflect what that young kid from an unremarkable background had achieved. It was just 1 podium, but it is a testament to his work ethic and determination, which, as a fan, you can only admire. In 2022, Calan has made the step up to Formula 2, partnering Richard Verschoor at Trident. This year hasn't been brilliant, with his only points finish having come in the Jeddah sprint race, and he is quite a long way from his experienced teammate in the standings. So why did I make this video, you may wonder? In a sense, you're right to ponder that question, but just like in the video about Lorenzo Fluxa, there is a message behind this piece. Motorsport is expensive. It has always been, and it will always be. Most drivers competing in the sport don't realise how fortunate they are to be competing in wonderful cars at daredevil speeds. But there are exceptions. Like Nick Gilks, who is working his socks off in GB3 despite the cards being dealt against him. And like Calan Williams, who has made it from humble beginnings to the step below Formula 1. These stories are what make us fall in love with motorsport. Kids trying their best to live out a dream, no matter the circumstances. No, Williams is no Verstappen, but you can guarantee that he's giving it his all, that he is learning, and that he is making his family, his sponsors, and his community proud. And that is all you can demand. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure to like the video and to subscribe to my channel to help me get to 1,000 subscribers as soon as possible. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.